Hi. So I am extraordinarily tired right now. It has been quite a week, but I was inspired to just hop on as part of my practice here is just spending time on camera and talking about the book to with the intent of supporting people who are reading it. So one of the things that actually is an offer that I wanna make for folks is that if there's something very specific that you want to be working on, um, is to reach out to me about it, and this is actually something that has, like, arisen spontaneously from, folks in my just general advisory calls and professional calls talking to me about stuff, and people are reading the book, and after our conversations, I'm responding with page numbers for some readings and some exercises that will, I think will support their process with whatever they're working on. So, one of the things that's been particularly delightful has also been that folks are coming back to me, feeding back like what passages and things that like and what experiences they're having. They're particularly useful and valuable to them. So I wanted to share. I just want to take a couple minutes. I don't think I'm going to stay on here very long. I'm going to go get some lunch. The local time right now is 12:38 in Boston. But I want to share. So as far as like getting screenshots or people sending things and saying this really, like, I can't, like people saying like they're reading a passage repeatedly because it's really sticking with them, or talking about some of the practices they've done that are like yielding, kind of more breakthroughs, mini breakthroughs, insights, the following. The first one, so I got a screenshot of this where it's funny because it's the opening of the book. And so the passage is the opening of the first chapter, which is, you and your life are not a series of problems to be solved. You are not a math test, a sequence of equations that need to be resolved using the correct calculations. Your life is a poem, a walk in the woods through valleys and over mountaintops, with dark parts, lush areas, the tang of rot and musk blending with the air, the sun on your skin or in the rain, and muscles burning. Your life is to be lived and experienced with all these elements: sunlight, darkness, musk, verdancy, rot, and fresh air. Yeah, and, the thing about that is the first, pages of this book are kind of trying to introduce the notion of, like, having a different relationship with your problems, or your perception of your flaws, or kind of like any number of, like, I guess, like, what would be considered negative things. And, like, introducing that as, like, a piece of, like, the robustness that is your life, as like, I guess, like, say the miracle of your life. And, I think for folks that is impacting is that was, like, how that is positioned is pretty nice. And, I wrote that when, I had, it was couple years ago, and it kind of arose naturally in a dream. I woke up and I wrote it down, and it was when I was surrounded. There were two friends who just brought so much love and energy, that were staying with me, and there was just a real feeling because, like, in that, in that context, we're having a lot of ups and downs as far as, like, things that were happening in our lives and that we were talking about, and we were, like, holding the space for each other, um, and just helping each other process things, and without judgment, and actually just kind of experiencing, like, the love of the connection in that. And I think that is probably part of where that sprung from, is that notion of, I think the thing is, like, at points, if there had been, like, self-consciousness of, like, around, like, "Oh my gosh, this is kind of like, you know, like a negative thing or whatever. I think that's kind of what that arose from, was from like the very lovingness of that space, and like the yeah, and the fact that it was kind of the difficult things were really like enriching and ultimately like sweetening the connection that we had, and helping like kind of just make it more special. So the other passage I want to read that was shared with me, and this is a particular favorite of mine, is it comes from chapter 12. And if you are following along on the book, you don't need to be, because hopefully this will kind of like work on its own here. But the 12th chapter of the book, so the entire book is actually about the path of like sort of chronologically evaluating the facets of our like of our self, like our nervous system and ourself, and it's working through them as kind of like a reconciliation in terms of like sort of the path is kind of more towards like self-actualization. And the 12th chapter is actually about taking things like making ideas and being able to tap into things related to purpose and creation and bring them down through the hubs in reverse order by kind of taking things from like being really expansive to densifying them and landing them as like concrete things that exist in the world. And so what that part of that process is, that form of transformation, like involves um really like a type of growth into our potential. So this passage was sent to me, and I particularly I really agree with it. I think when writing this was, I can remember that kind of the thought process and the inspiration with this passage was, it hit me it hit me as really strong when I was contemplating it and writing about it, and just realizing how, like, it really represented something that I personally knew to be true. But like a lot of things in this book, it was like these inspirations that struck that would surprise me. I mean, I still read the book, and feel kind of surprised by some of it, and kind of a, sort of, I guess, yeah, I'd say, yeah, like, it's helpful to me. The book's helpful to me still, because it's like, I don't know where like, I think, in another part in the book, it talks about how, Stephen King and his author friends, get together, and I think they have like a band or something along this. And this was an excerpt from his book on writing, which is about the creative process. And one of the things that just really struck me is he this is a paraphrasing, is that they said that, all of his friends, these writer friends, like the one thing they never talk about is where ideas come from, because nobody really knows. And that's one of the things that's really repeated from people who are great, like phenomenal, like artistic creators and creators otherwise, is this really, kind of sophisticated understanding of the fact that like how ideas land are kind of the collision of two pieces of sort of previously existing information coming to form sort of a new insight, and the wonder of like not really knowing like what the process is and like what it is that actually makes that happen. But and actually, like, to that point, like with the like almost like using that knowledge. So going back to what I was talking about with chapter 12 and the creation process, is that this is the sixth hub descending. And a lot of times when folks are faced with like the daunting kind of notion of creating something, there's this sense that you should already know how to do it, and that creates a lot of like sometimes in people like a shame or embarrassment of like all the stuff I don't know how to do that's going to be necessary, or being overwhelmed by kind of like the kind of this, like, I'm using the word specter. I think that's like a word for ghost, but like the kind of massiveness of like, how am I going to do this? Because it's just like I don't even understand how to do it. So one of the things with this, like I'll read this passage as it relates to it, but yeah, like this is about how creating something and envisioning it, like the step of being able to visualize something, a lot of emphasis is put on, like, kind of, like the things like vision boards and like being able to, like, like draw up a picture of it, write it down, whatever, like what is the thing that you're creating. N The insight here is that there's a version of you that is like this, like, future version, or what it's not just that you're gonna create something, it's that you're going to be transformed by the creation to becoming the person who can create it. So, I'll read it. Maybe I wrote it better than, I mean, who knows? We'll see. But, so this was the passage that was sent to me. So changing how you see yourself is part of the sixth hub descending process. The doubts, cross currents, don't know that the ability to achieve the size and scope of your vision is what you'll grow into and become throughout the process of doing it. Creation doesn't just transform the world around you through making things, you will be transformed through the process. The fact, uh, the fact is, you are not yet the person who can achieve your dream. You only become this person by doing it. You will need to envision the person you want and need to be to make your creation happen. Maybe you've never imagined yourself as the kind of person capable of doing something so big and brave. Perhaps you have the mistaken belief that you're not the person who can do it, and you may be right to a certain extent. In the fourth hub descending, I'll discuss the recruitment of people who help make your vision possible. You won't do it alone. Your limiting beliefs will resist this new idea of who you can be, and will also be particularly aware and receptive to people projecting their insecurities and fears on you. Our brains are meaning making machines, and they will find validation for any strongly held belief, regardless of its validity. Although the non believers may be easy targets for blame, it isn't their lack of belief in you that's holding you back. When you believe in yourself, those people will find it increasingly difficult to voice their criticism, and you will have a hard time taking them seriously. Mm. If people don't have the vision to see your potential, it's their limitation. But when you choose to tolerate and believe them, you make it yours too. Again, you don't need to have all the talents and capabilities required to make your vision real. You won't do this alone. If you actively engage in this process as you continue, you'll find help when you need it. And in most cases, you don't know who they are yet. Yeah, that's a fact. But if you keep going, you will. You are the captain of the ship, but you don't need to know how to build one. You just need the vision to point the bow forward, to inspire, and to keep trying. Yeah, I want to kind of keep reading. It can be a lonely process in these upper hubs. It's hard to have an idea that you believe in before there's physical evidence of its existence. Keep in mind that most people haven't gone through this, so they don't have receipts, and their so called advice is a thinly disguised projection of their own insecurity. People try to be helpful, but feel helpless when they're navigating depths they've yet to face themselves, unless unless they've been successful at doing what they want to do. Folks who have tried and failed and given up can be particularly dangerous. Just smile and nod, and don't take what they offer seriously. Yeah. Yeah. It's a good one. It's a good one, and, part of what I want to reiterate on that is another point here, which is that who you have to become is often overlooked. It's the idea that you're gonna be the same person that accomplishes this thing. You're actually and that's part of the thing about creation and about building things and growing things, is that, there can be a tendency to think like, "Oh, well, this is egoic," or this is, like, kind of maligned as being like, kind of, you know, um like, not high level. But the fact is that by building things and by creating things, like, we are transformed, and that ultimately, like, we face failures, we face ourselves, we face just all manner of challenges. And the thing is with that is that, like, this is what this is about, you know, like, this is the growth that, I imagine if you've listened this far, you're looking for, where, and that makes us, we're looking for this. But the other part of this is, like, one of the things that's in there is that you don't have the talents to do it. And this is something that might be like, what do you mean? Because you're not going to do it alone. And, I didn't know how to write a book. Still, I didn't know how to write a book. I didn't know how to publish a book. I didn't know. And, like a number of other things, back to, I don't know how to make videos, which is still active. But one of the things about these processes, and I tend to try to keep things like pretty practical, but there is some force that is like, I mean, whether, and like the thing is, like, whether it's, you feel like it's coming from like inside, where it's like how your brain's actively selecting things, or if or if it's like an alignment with the sense of this is something that comes from like the larger universe. What I think we can all, it's like people are like talking about the, like reticular area of like formation in the brain is like kind of seeking what it's looking for kind of stuff, which is, I mean, I think that there's really a role for the fact there can be thing like a practical side, and also sort of maybe something that's kind of beyond our capacity to know. Either way, the point I'm getting at, slowly but surely, or whatever, is that you want, like, that the forces will align, and, and like all of a sudden, like, podcasts will show up on your feed, or, people like on social media, people post something that's meaningful. Somebody will recommend a book, and you'll be kind of like interested in it in a way you normally wouldn't have been. A friend will say something, you'll be walking down the street and you'll hear something, chance YouTube video, or like you'll be watching a movie and there's like something in it. So there's a bit of that, but there's also something about how people will come into your life that like, especially if you're actively curious and even talking to people about things. Like sometimes, like how my editor came into my life, who was a profound force in this process as far as being a guide for me in many ways. My editor, who is had been a Condé Nast, like editor in Manhattan, and also, does work for Ivy Leagues for like very complex international relations, and um, and brought to my process like more than I could have understand to ask for, is like helping me find a voice, helping me structure things, being a true partner in the process, like just knowing what to take out, what to leave in, like this clarity. I mean, it's an absolutely extraordinary contribution, because the manuscript that went out to her versus the one that, if you have the book you're looking at, um, very different. Yeah, I spend a little more time goofing on some of the goofs that about her initial impressions, but I'll save that for another time. But so if you're looking for page numbers, and if you're still here, thank you. I absolutely love you for that in this. The page number for the first quote, it's the beginning of chapter 1. That's on page 3. And if you're looking for, it's for folks who are following along at home, is if you're looking for the chapter 12 quote, the inquiry one, the last one that I read, that is on page 293. So anyhow, like the initial offer being that if you have any anything where you're of like a particular interest or something that you're really working with right now, and you'd like some recommendations on some pages and some for some like of the readings and some of the exercises, like please reach out. I really welcome the opportunity. It's pretty much like the only thing I really want to be doing right now is like helping people and continuing the process of like being able to watch people have experiences with this and support it, and learn from it too. But anyway, thank you, thank you, thank you, and hopefully I'll see you soon. Bye.